In a world of high strangeness and inexplicable enigmas, where we know so little, we're constantly putting together the pieces, only to find that the puzzle is much bigger than we ever imagined. Standing on the dark side of a one-way mirror, what happens when the unexplained invites you to the other side of the glass? Will you take the bait when the monster under the bed politely introduces itself and offers a dialogue? What questions do you ask? Can you resist the urge and turn it away? Today on Mystery Archives, we return to the Mothers of Darkness in Glamis Castle. Only this time, they aren't hiding in the shadows. This time, they're coming to us. On December 2nd of 2024, I received an unusual comment on the Untold Story of Somerset Belenoff video. If you weren't there for the premiere of that video 2 months ago, it had unprecedented levels of interference, buffering, and skipping over some of the most poignant points. The errors came from the back end, from YouTube itself. Despite reaching out to my YouTube manager and Google support, no one had an explanation for what happened, and the question remains unanswered. However, the video was not scrubbed from the internet and remains up today. This is the comment that I received on that very video. Hello, I am Margot DeCastries, Outreach Coordinator for North America at Luxembourg Cathedral. We do not object to your video, but we wish to clarify certain elements for those who may come here to read this. We understand sometimes errors occur due to the limited information available to the public, and through no fault on your part. We're not asking for a correction or anything like that, and after this communication, we won't bother you or trouble you in any way. Here are some things we'd like to point out. The Countess was not born at Glamis, as is reported on some websites. She spent a good part of her childhood there and considers it her spiritual home, but she was actually born in Suriname. At no time was the Countess ever subjected to any sort of abuse, nor has she ever participated in or witnessed any such ritual. In all the conversations I've had with her personally, she has never expressed that any of her experiences in the castle were frightening to her in any way. She wasn't groomed for a leadership position. She was loved by the Queen Mother, but as an outsider of questionable birth, she was only tolerated by most members of the royal family. She was appointed to the seat at Veton so that she would be less visible. Lastly, I'm always instructed to point out that when she came to the council in 1979, she was immediately met with pressure to support the Marxist agenda that had swept over much of Europe. Being the strong individualist that she is, her reaction was fierce, and the rest of the story is factually accurate. She makes no apologies for her support of freedom or of the methods she's used to further its cause. Thank you for reading, and please excuse any errors of my grammar, as English is not my first language. You may verify the authenticity of this message by checking the Glamis Calling site, where you will find a note from me simply stating, "From Margot for KR, December 2nd. We'll leave it up for a while for verification. Kind regards, Margot." As Margot said there would be, a note has been left on the Glamis Calling website. The message follows a statement to the general public, to you yourself. This message is allegedly from Somerset Belenoff herself, as most posts on the site are, but more likely was composed by and with her team. In it, they address some commonly asked questions and plans for the future, including a more thoroughly fleshed out FAQ page. Glamis Calling is a WordPress blog with curious posts ranging from poems to cryptic messages to outright instructions for world leaders. These posts are allegedly made by Somerset Belenoff and other members of the World Global Council. Posts on Bohemian Grove appear from time to time, as do annual commemorations of the Pied Piper of Hamelin and the Princess Augusta shipwreck. The date Janet Douglas of Glamis was burned at the stake for witchcraft is also a reoccurring theme. Strange audio recordings are attached to some of the posts, along with references to frequencies the target audience should tune into. It evokes more questions than answers, few of which are addressed in the blog welcome post. There are, however, some questions they did answer. Why did they use a WordPress blog of all things to publicly publish confidential information and directives of international importance? They claim it came about during an overhaul of their secure communication platforms on the deep web. It could be set up quickly and allow international constituents to access it easily. These two benefits outweighed the risk of discovery by the general public, especially as many of their more sensitive communications took the form of cryptic messages that required decoding. Not to mention, when you search the IP address of WordPress sites, it doesn't ping, meaning you can't source the location of origin. As the months turned to years, the council became almost comfortable with the idea of exposure, as it seemed inevitable. They refer to an awakening or raising of consciousness, presumably of the veil being lifted between the general public and those working in the shadows. They know we are becoming aware. While we're comfortable with the idea in theory, accepting the exposure when it came proved a more difficult challenge. When traffic to the site spiked, several concerns arose. Due to internal and external conflicts, they feared that they had been compromised deliberately or maliciously. They had to determine the threat level, and why doing so, took precautionary measures. They took down the Glamis Calling website, along with two others. One appears to be the Cannibal Cravings website, which they purport to be a viral marketing campaign for a restaurant that never opened. A hoax. This is not to be confused with the Cannibal Club, allegedly a competitor of Cannibal Cravings. Some of you may have heard of the stories of Somerset's daughter being tied to supplying human meat for the Cannibal Club. Cannibal Cravings claims to be owned by Karina Belenoff, the marketing firm in LA responsible for the Cannibal Cravings website was purportedly not found to be involved, though they indirectly led to a heightened awareness of the World Governing Council and the Veton family. The Cannibal Cravings website was deleted, but an archived version still exists. Hey guys, quick interruption here. As I was editing the video, I was going to show screenshots of this archived website, and for some bizarre reason, and only for this site from what I've been able to see so far, trying to view any of the captures just results in an error message. And there's varying error messages as well, which in all honesty, I have never had that happen to me before. So unfortunately, I won't be able to show you a screenshot of the archived website at this time, but I will put links down in the comments below so that you could check it out possibly later for yourself. I just thought it was way too weird not to share. The second adversarial website they refer to is less clear. Somerset claims to have been stalked by the owners, even approached from a distance by associates or investigators. Once at a cemetery, and once when she was a guest speaker at a university graduation. While finding them to be harmless, the council needed to be sure that they weren't being used by more nefarious characters. We have yet to find what website this is referring to, though we have some possible leads. If you have any ideas, please let us know. It was put back online and is believed to still be operational. Once satisfied with their threat assessment, Glamis Calling came back online. This is despite the fact that their secure platforms went back online, and the more sensitive communications are transmitted through said platforms rather than the blog. Why restore the website at all, including archived posts from as far back as 2016? Why continue to post some of their newer, sensitive communications on the blog? It may be another strategy in their elaborate chess game, but I will allow you to decide for yourselves. But they give their own answer. They made an empathetic declaration that they want world leaders to know that you are watching. Another layer of accountability for world leaders to comply with directives. Perhaps a way to not let only government leaders, but the whole world see just how powerful they are. We will dive further into this later in the video. Initially, the site was meant to be restored for a limited time before being taken down permanently. However, a large content creator nicknamed Firefly requested that they keep it up. I believe this to be a girl named Jessie from the Right on Radio podcast, whose 123rd episode discusses her communications with the WGC. The council took her request to say, "If you have nothing to hide, stay in the light. Let us inspect your work product." This interpretation may give insight to the way that they see things and their motives for keeping it up. They claim to have an interest in transparency, a commitment to work in the open where they can. Anything they keep private is out of necessity rather than malice. The nature of their work requires security and secrecy at times. While this is understandable, critical thinkers will see the opportunity here. It would be all too easy to publicly give directives the general population will be in support of, while hiding those directives the public would disapprove of. Granted, the public may not see the full chessboard or understand the rules of the game, and our ignorance could lead to misplaced outrage. And of course, that would be the first excuse where their motives were more sinister. It is a never-ending thought loop I've yet to climb out of, one way or another. Just how powerful is the World Governing Council? I have verified most, if not all, of the plainly worded directives. I did not delve into the more cryptic posts for reasons that will become apparent later. As I go through these posts one by one, keep in mind that all is not always as it seems. March 5th of 2016, impeach Dilma Rousseff. On May 12th of 2016, President Dilma Rousseff was suspended by the Senate of Brazil. She was removed from office August 31st of 2016, having been found guilty of breaking budgetary laws in a vote of 61-20. She had a history of involvement with Marxist urban guerrilla groups before joining the Workers' Party. April 1st, 2016, Satish Dhawan Space Center, April 20th, launch denied, moved to the 28th. A launch is recorded as taking place April 28th of 2016. June 24th, 2016. Mr. Cameron, you may step down. David Cameron stepped down July 13th, 2016. December 1st of 2016. Satish Dhawan Space Center launch approved for December 7th. A launch is recorded as taking place on December 7th of 2016. March 6th of 2017. In Peach Park, Guanai. 4 days later, on March 10th of 2017, President Park Geun-hye was unanimously impeached by the Constitutional Court of South Korea. She was sentenced to 25 years in prison for corruption and abuse of power, but received a pardon and was released after less than 4 years served. March 27th of 2018, Madame Prime Minister to invoke Article 50. 2 days later, on March 29th of 2018, Article 50 of the Treaty on the European Union provides for a mechanism for the voluntary and unilateral withdrawal of a country from the EU. Brexit followed. These are one of just many things that the directives supposedly said would happen, and did. As of May of 2019, after this point, the directives supposedly moved back to their secure platform, and most posts address the public rather than world leaders. With all of that said, Glamis Calling is a WordPress blog. For those unfamiliar, it is quite easy to change the published dates of your posts. It is how they archived posts from 2016, when the blog was made in 2018. The creators could simply wait for something in the world to happen, write out a directive, and then edit the date of the post and make it appear as though the instruction preceded the event. What does this mean? If this is all fabricated, why would someone systematically do this for years? Well, when you look at the blog, it wasn't made until 2018. The directives stopped in 2019. The prior 2 years were retroactively added. They only spent a year playing their game. Then, when the site got attention and people were watching in real time, they began making posts speaking to the public about protests and COVID and US elections, interacting with people who believe them to be the infamous 70-something-year-old Somerset Belenoff, the Mother of Darkness herself. Welcome to the world of ARGs, alternative reality games. Think of escape rooms or subscription boxes like Hunt a Killer, only they bleed into your real life. As stories being woven in real time, often affected by player interaction. With ARGs, this happens whether the player is aware that they're in a game or not. Most ARGs start on the internet, but the more you engage with them, they start calling you on your phone or sending mail to your house. This transmedia method is a defining characteristic of ARGs. It leaves the original platform and takes on new life. Alternative reality games have no set rules, and it is difficult to pin down a clear description, as each game is different. Glamis Calling could very well be entering the next stage of the game. The foundation was laid with the initial posts. Now that people are playing it, it has switched to being a more conversational platform, evolving with the feedback given. It certainly has the potential to be the case. But what if this isn't an ARG? Could the mysterious World Governing Council be operating in plain view right before our very eyes, replying to comments from the public and giving the illusion of working with the masses towards shared goals? After all, what better way to assuage the panic of the masses than to make them believe that they have some level of control? Or could it be something real masquerading as an ARG? People won't look any further once they believe it to be a hoax. dismissing it whenever it's mentioned because they figured out the game. They solved the riddle and have moved on to the next one. Perhaps the true communications lie in the strange audio recordings, bizarre poems, and cryptic messages, which I may dive deeper into at a later date. Their bizarre obsession with the Pied Piper of Hamelin, Janet Douglas, and Princess Augusta may hold more truths. My research leads me to believe that it is merely an ARG, but I cannot say this with absolute certainty. After all, this world is a strange and mysterious place where anything is possible. As always, I'll leave you to form your own opinions, but please share your thoughts in the comments. It is a conversation worth having, and perhaps we'll find the truth together. I will leave you with a word of caution. If you wish to delve deeper into this mystery, or even engage in conversation with Glamis calling, tread carefully. If it is more than an ARG, you may find yourself deep in a rabbit hole that you can't so easily get out of. I did want to thank my fiancée Megan for doing all of the research and scripting for this video while I was managing several other things. She opted to go down the rabbit hole and provide us with what you've been shown here today. I did also want to mention that I have since sent off a series of questions as a dialogue has been offered to me by Glamis calling, and I will keep you posted if they are responded to. Again, draw your own conclusions as always. Please like this video if you found it interesting, and subscribe and share this video around. Although not my usual content, I found this story to be an ever-evolving mystery, and one that I seem to find myself getting more and more immersed in. With that being said, thank you all for your support. This has been Cody here at Mystery Archives, and I'll see you very soon with another brand new video. Please, stay safe out there, and take care.